Hi, I'm Jack, and welcome back to Short Story Focus. Thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Today we're going to continue our look at William Gibson's seminal anthology collection, Burning Chrome. And the story that we'll be looking at today is New Rose Hotel. I actually read this short story several times in order to kind of try to get a feel for it and see if I could plumb what was unique about it. And I found that from the first reading to the third reading, I actually listened to it also as an audiobook on YouTube. What I found is I thought that the opening of the book reminded me a little bit of a haiku. And I mean, not that it is a haiku, that maybe there was just the flavor of that within there. This is how the short story New Rose Hotel opens up. 7 rented nights in this coffin, Sandy. New Rose Hotel. That has a very poetic feel to it to me. When I listened to it as an audiobook, it definitely came across as having that haiku accent possibly, or even just a poetic feeling to it. William Gibson is actually very good at creating story openers, and as any editor or writing teacher will tell you, nailing that opening line is really important in a story, depending on where you want it to go. And it can very often set the course. And if you're really good, you can often tie the beginning to the end. The story takes a strange turn almost immediately. He says, "Sometimes I hit you. Replay it so slow and sweet and mean. I can almost feel it. Sometimes I take your little automatic out of my bag, run my thumb down the smooth, cheap chrome, Chinese 22. Its bore no wider than the dilated pupils of your vanished eyes. Fox is dead now, Sandy. Fox told me to forget you." So this is within this story, there are some pretty interesting things, because it seems like although these people are together and they are associated with each other, nobody is really friends. There's a Japanese flavor throughout the story. There's mention of zaibatsus, Shinjuku, and other Japanese elements, including the New Rose Hotel itself, which is basically like a Rabbit Warren Hotel kind of situation where you have the very tiny rooms all stacked on top of each other, and the hotel itself was relocated from a nicer area, and so it's more in, I guess, somewhat of what you would consider a slum. And that is an aspect of cyberpunk, in that we have an enormous amount of high tech and low life. Fox is a man who's hunting for the edge, capital E, edge. It's kind of a holy grail to him. And it's also part of what he and the main character of the story, or I should say the narrator, are doing, in that they are looking for the best talent from other corporations to steal them away for their clients. And of course, this is a William Gibson future. So if you're helping one corporation to in any way screw over another corporation, you may soon find yourself a hunted man. While Fox has his holy grail hunting for the edgiest of the edge among the greatest of the greats in the corporate gene splicing world, the main character has an obsession with someone who also works within this shadowy corporate rating realm of existence of his, and that is the character Sandy. And so many of his recollections of her are of the times that they were having sex together, or in the aftermath of their sexual coupling, or in his obsessive thoughts about her. For all the fact that Fox is a full-grown man, he pines away for Sandy in, of course, an adult fashion, but he really does seem very fixated on her. And basically, Fox is looking for the edge, and the narrator is looking to find a way into Sandy's heart, but you can't find your way into something that isn't there. Within the story, and like many of the female characters within Gibson's cyberpunk stories from the 80s, Sandy is no one to mess with. Even if she might not be someone who is maybe not physically capable of being dangerous, she is capable of being dangerous in every other way. She is smart and cunning, and she's a survivor. And while that might not be immediately obvious in the story, it is certainly obvious by the end of the story. And while the narrator is lusting after her and obsessed with her, she has her own machinations going on in the background. Like many of Gibson's short stories, it's really hard to say that this story is about all that much. If you're looking for the standard beginning, middle, and end, I suppose after a fashion it is there. We do have an established character, and he does have something going on. But the beginning of the story and the middle of the story are disconnected in time, and then the end of the story comes back around to the events of the beginning. And what we find is that through their various dealings in trying to make money by helping and getting into the good graces of one corporation, they of course have to screw over another corporation. The narrator and Fox find themselves on the wrong side of the corporation that they're working against, and even the one that they're working for. They help take part in a little bit of corporate espionage, a corporate defection. It's a scientist who wants to move from one group to another, and during the course of that corporate defection, somebody breaks proper radio discipline and security protocols, and the Zaibatsus, the corporations, are always listening. So in this future, the corporations, as they are in Gibson's future, have an enormous amount of extrajudicial power. They have, I would say, almost the power of small governments, much like they do today, but a whole lot more. And they're able to act on it. And so when they go around kind of leveling their own justice, they really don't pay for it. And so the characters wind up finding themselves on the run. It doesn't go very well for them. And so that is basically what the story is about. It's two guys who are raiders. They're kind of unusual, uncommon friends. It's kind of hard for anyone to really consider themselves friends within this kind of illegal work that they do. And then you have the main character with his obsession for Sandy. This story is a good read. It's like many of Gibson's other short stories. It doesn't completely cleave to all the rules of good short story writing. In breaking them, it really does seem to create something special and something interesting. I mean, I guess you could say technically all the elements are there, but they're really not all there. And I don't really know that it's about anything other than just, bad guys screwing up and running afoul of other bad guys. But that is also interesting storytelling, right? Gibson definitely brings the crime novel, crime movie kind of aesthetic to his fiction. And I guess that falls in line with a long-held tradition in science fiction that the detective novel is a great skeleton or underpinning for the understanding of a good science fiction story. Certainly I know that Alfred Bester felt that way about it, and he certainly used that in the formation of his own stories. New Rose Hotel, I feel, is a good short story. It's a good read. Almost from the beginning, you can feel the regret and you can feel the paranoia, and those two things blend together really well. You just kind of get the feeling that the narrator is a character who is maybe putting his collar up and his head down and looking side to side, hoping that nobody notices him until he can get away and stay alive. By the end of this quick little read, you can see that he can hope, but it's hard to say how it's going to go.